The good son says fortunate.
um, I'm sure I'll just kind of hold the fort down until he comes back, and then, inshallah, you'll get the real message of Islam when he comes back. So I wanted to look at one of the lines of Ziyat Ashura and see if we could expound upon it a little bit, and inshallah see what we could gain from it. So towards the end of the ziyarat, one of the lines we say is an yaj'alani ma'kum fi dunya wal akhirah, right? Where we're asking, Allah, or we're asking the Imam to allow us to be with him both in this world and the next, right? So this ma'iyat, or this togetherness with the Imam, what does that mean? So it's a sentence I'm sure that when we're reading it in the ziyarat, we just read it and we just keep going and we don't think about it for a second, right? But if we actually do take a step back and think about what does it mean to be with the Imam in this world, because obviously it's not necessarily a physical connection right now. Inshallah, in the future it will be. Inshallah, we get that opportunity. But in the present moment, when we're asking the Imam to be with him, we're not asking that physically. So what is this being with him in this world? In the akhirah it's clear, but in this world, what does that mean? Right? So Sheikh Siddiq, one of our older scholars, was asked a question about a tradition. He actually narrates a tradition. And he says that a person asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam about being happy or sad without any reason. Right? So this is a companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, comes to him, and he's saying sometimes, right, we become happy without any cause. There is nothing to trigger our happiness. And sometimes we become sad without any cause. There is nothing to trigger our sadness. We're just sitting there and all of a sudden we're happy or we're sad. Why does that happen? Right? What is that about? And the Imam answered him. He said, such happiness and sadness comes from us. Right? So sometimes you're sitting and for no reason at all you become happy or you become sad. That's from us. When happiness or sorrow falls upon us, it affects you. Right? So the Imam is saying when we become happy or sad, it affects you. Why? Because both you and us are created from the same divine nur. He has created our and your nature from one. And that's intense. Right? So again, many times, and I'm sure all of us have experienced this, maybe all of you, not me, but for no reason, we become happy or sad. And the Imam is saying that's from us. Right? Now, let's take another step back here. What can we understand from that? It's an interesting tradition, interesting hadith. The Imam is saying some happiness and sadness comes from the Imam because we're created from the same nur. So when the Imam becomes happy, somehow we get happy. When the Imam gets sad, somehow we get sad. But what does that mean? What can we learn from that? Right? Instead of just taking these nice hadith in one ear, not necessarily out the other, but just running with it, let's actually think about it a little bit. Right? And some of the points that I came up with is one of them, which is very important, is that happiness and sadness, or emotion in general, is something different than us. Right? So we ourselves are us, like what we call I, and that I-ness or that me is different than my emotion. So happiness is something that's different than me, and I can be happy or I can be sad, but that's not me in my essence, right? It's something outside of my essence that at times accompanies me and at times doesn't. It's an important point. But does everyone agree with that? Is that clear? Okay. Second one is that our souls, which are our essence, are affected by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And that depends on us being believers though. So the tradition is talking about believers. So it's not every human being on earth. It's the mu'mineen, the believers are affected by the Ahlul Bayt. Right? And that's very interesting. So when the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam experience happiness or sadness, according to this tradition, then their soul affects our soul. Right? And the reason why that happens is described in the hadith, that we're all created from the same nur. And we know in the traditions that describe the creation of the Ahlul Bayt, that they're the first creation, right? And the anwar, or the nur of the Ahlul Bayt, are created before anything else. And it went all the way through the lines of all the prophets, and then split into the Prophet Imam Ali, and then through to the Imams. You have all of those traditions, right? And this is what that's referring to. That light, that somehow all of the mu'mineen share a little tiny portion of that light. Right? And that gets me to this third point. And this is a philosophical point. That there's this common, I don't want to call it a conscience, but there's this common element that all of the believers could tap into. Right? That's somehow external to us, but our souls are connected to it. Because how is it that when let's say the imam becomes happy, right? How is it that could somehow affect all of the believers at once? There has to be something that all of the believers are somehow connected to, and that is connected to the imam as well. Right? So there's this common, I don't want to even give it a name, but it's just this common entity that somehow we're all connected to, and happiness and sorrow, or some connection to the Ahlul Bayt comes. Right? All right. So there's this real connection. Does that make sense, or is that just a little too out there for people? Makes a little sense? All right. So let's look at a different tradition, a different hadith, and see what this hadith says. Right? And see if we could get something similar from that. So there's a companion of Imam Waqar alayhi salam by the name of Jabir, and this companion says, sometimes I become sad without anything bad happening. Right? So it's the same type of question here. Sometimes I become sad and there's no trigger. There's no one died, I didn't lose anything, no one hit me, nothing bad happened, but somehow I become sad. Right? He says, my mood is affected so much that my family recognizes it in me. Right? So they could see, what's wrong with you? You look sad. Something's wrong. Something happened. What happened? And his Jabir says, nothing happened. I don't know why I'm feeling sad. And he went to the Imam and he asked him that. And sometimes this happens. Imam, please tell me, what could this be? And the Imam responds, Imam Waqar alayhi salam. He says, you speak the truth. Definitely this happens from time to time. Right? Allah has created the believers from the soil of heaven. So again, this is interesting, where the Imam is referring to the creation of the mu'mineen, of the believers. Right? So when they're asking about this sadness or happiness in the other tradition that comes from nowhere, he refers to the creation. And the first one was, you and I are created from the same nur, and because of that, when I feel happy, you also feel happy. This one, all of the believers are created from the soil of heaven. And Allah breathed His Spirit into them. Since the believers are brothers of one another, whenever one of their souls becomes sad, the other souls become sad as well. And again, this isn't necessary connection with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This widens the scope and says all of the mu'mineen have a connection as well. Right? Where one person becomes sad, one of the believers becomes sad, somehow all of the other believers, their souls should be affected. Right? And sometimes we might not recognize where it's coming from. We feel, a bout of sadness just comes and then goes, and we have no idea where it came from. Sometimes it could be, if we're believers, it could be from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, could be from other believers. This could be the reason why. And this is what the Imam's telling us. Now, again, we keep taking steps back, but when we look at happiness or sadness or contentment in life, we know that sometimes it's in our control, sometimes it's not. Right? So there's many ways for us to improve our mood. If we're sad, if we feel like we have a low mood, depressed, just feel kind of down, there's things we could do to pick ourselves up. Right? Many things. Right? So one of them is giving charity. I don't know if you guys have actually given charity before. I'm sure many of you have. But when you give charity, sadaqah, right, sincerely, there's much research that it elevates one's mood. So much research out there. I've read so many scientific journal articles about altruism and giving charity that they all say when one's intention is sincere, one of the results is the person becomes happier. Right? Not the person receiving, but the person giving. Right? So that's something that is interesting and we could do. There's other things, for instance, exercise. Right? So I know many of you probably play some kind of sport or go to gym or whatever it is, but there's lots of evidence that show if you exercise for 30 minutes with an elevated heart rate 3 times a week, you'll have a better mood. Other one is socializing. There's so many ahadith that we have that say spending time with each other, spending time with the brothers, coming here, and I'm sure after I stop boring you with my lecture, you guys will have a good time laughing with each other, eating food. I have to go give another lecture, same lecture somewhere else, but it's good. It gives me, I get practice here, and then I go there, I get more practice. But so socializing, spending time with people, laughing, having a good time, that elevates one's mood. So if you're feeling down, call one of your friends, one of your cousins, one of your brothers, go spend time with them. Another thing you could do is mindfulness. Do you guys know what mindfulness is? You've heard that term before? So mindfulness in like Western psychology is like the Buddhist meditations and breathing exercises, right? But one of the ways that we have is spirituality and praying, fasting, reading dua, participating in religious programs. That elevates one's mood as well. If you're doing it sincerely and you're connecting with God and you try to take everything but Allah out of your mind, it elevates your heart. And I'm sure you guys could also describe that much better than me because you have that ikhlas. I probably don't, right? But I'm sure you guys do more. Now, what is all of this? All of these are methods to improve our mood. But the Imam is saying this isn't always in our control. Sometimes it is, right? And what we could do if we have a low mood, even if we don't have a low mood, we do all of these things. We exercise, socialize with other mu'mineen. We try to engage in some form of spirituality. We also give charity. We do all the things that we can that we know that will improve mood, right? We do all of that. But that doesn't guarantee us that we're going to be happy, right? Because sometimes happiness and sadness are outside of our control. And this is what the Imam was referring to. So one of the ways that it's out of our control is these connection that we have with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And sometimes, for whatever reason, the Imam's happiness extends beyond him to all of the mu'mineen. And sometimes his sadness extends beyond him to all the mu'mineen. And sometimes the way that other mu'mineen feel affect us, if we're mu'min. Right? And that connection really, like if, for me at least, when I'm thinking about that connection, it really intensifies the need of strong brotherhood. Right? And that's one of the reasons why I'm very happy that you guys decided to continue with these programs. Right? And one of the reasons why I accepted to come is because, I want the rewards of just being a reason why you guys get together and spend time with one another. I'll bore you. You can't wait till I stop talking and leave, and you guys can have fun. But because you guys have someone to give a lecture to you, there's an excuse for you to get together and spend time with one another, right? And that brotherhood is really, really important. And inshallah, we could continue to try to expand that and figure out ways where we could have more excuses to spend time with each other and more, motivation to improve on our brotherhood, inshallah. All right? Do you guys have any questions or anything? Because I don't like to just sit here and talk forever. I want to give people chances to give feedback or to ask any questions or anything. So do you guys have anything you'd want to talk about or discuss? It's okay. Yeah?
What's
Charity is when you give some money or anything else to someone who needs it. Right? So if you have money and you see a poor person, you give them some money. That's called charity in English. Sadaqah in Arabic. Yeah?
I like your point on trying to express your connections with the people around you in order to not just benefit socially but spiritually as well. But I feel like in our generation, this time and age, it's the way our day is structured and somewhat prevents it to a certain extent. But like, how do you cope with it? Like, for example, someone works like your long day at work, they come back, no one's bothered, no one's doing anything, you just want to sit up bed and just chill.
Yeah. You have to make it a point to actually spend time with other people. It's true. When you work all day, you come home, you're tired, right? For me, I remember I was trying to get to the gym, and I'd make in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym today. I get home, sit on the couch, I'm not getting out. Yep. Next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. I said, all right, what I need to do is just not sit down on that couch and eat dinner and go to the gym before. Right? So you have to plan on when and how you're going to see people. One of the best ways is through programs like this. Right? So every Tuesday night, you guys have this program. You're going to come, you're going to spend time with each other, you're going to have fun. Right? You know that that's happening. And then, if you have other programs throughout the week, you can add a couple of those. They don't all have to be programs like this, but you plan days, right? So I have days planned where I know a certain group gets together on Wednesdays, I go to them. A certain group gets together on Thursdays, I might go to them, right? Another group gets together on Saturdays, I might go to them. I know these different circles that get together on those days. I'm not going to go every single day of the week and, go to that extreme. But I know that, when I need to spend time with people, there's these groups I can spend time. So you have to plan it, right? It's not going to fall in your lap, right? But it's definitely doable because I'm assuming you're not going to be working 16-hour days, right? Probably working 8-hour days, and then you still have some time to spend time with others, right? You just have to plan it. But good question. Anyone else? You guys have questions? No? Nothing from you, Ibrahim? You sure? Okay. Inshallah. You can ask me later if you want. Alright, inshallah. Thank you, brothers, so much for your time. And inshallah, I would... Is this every week that we're doing it? Yeah. So inshallah, I'll see you guys next week. Inshallah. Alright. Please remember us in our dua, in your du'as. And wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.